This is a Gear Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Mr. Perez, and you're listening to the Better Live Than Dead podcast, brought to you exclusively on Gear Network. Listen in.
How's it going, everybody? Episode number 79 of the Better Live Than Dead podcast. We are live.
Episode 79.
What's going on, people? Oh, man. So it's been a day. First off, I'm Ryan Wolf, at Wolf BLTD on Twitter. Joining me now on the line, as usual, Mr. Perez, at MRLG Perez. Before we get too far into the podcast, man, how you doing?
Dude, I'm good, man. Digging out. But I'm all right. I'm sitting here in my car having a cigar with like 8,000 inches of snow around us.
Yeah, man, it's been a couple days for sure.
Yesterday was garbage day in my neighborhood. Garbage people, they didn't come till today. For those of you listening to the podcast not in Rochester, we got about 2 feet of snow yesterday. And so my garbage can was, up front. It got buried. I dug it out today, and it was just, excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, man, sorry about that. So I was sitting on my sidewalk, and sidewalk plow just came by, and I watched it run over my garbage can. So thank you, Mr. Sidewalk Plow.
That is fantastic. So, I think the total amount was 17, a shade under 18 inches in a day, less than 18 hours, well, less than 12 hours. Because I was in downtown Rochester, and I got to where I was staying about midnight, and it was just a little bit of a dusting, and then I woke up about 10:30, and there was 13 inches. And I was down by the hospital. I was down by the hospital. So yeah, it was a day for sure. And then I got to work after I drove 25 minutes for a 5-minute trip that included me driving the wrong way down a one-way, which was pretty cool. I got to work and they were like, "Oh, you really didn't have to come today." I mean, I would have gotten written up, but it wouldn't have been the end-all be-all. And after driving on the roads, I was like, you know what? This is not something I want to do ever again.
Yeah, man. Yesterday was bad. The roads were bad. 490 being shut down.
For a second,
590 being shut down. It was crazy. These poor kids across the street from me right now just came outside to move a car.
Yep. And
the sidewalk plow deposited some really big chunks of ice right in their driveway.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're not happy about it.
Hey, so today... Sorry, you go first.
I haven't gotten out to see how bad my driveway is yet. I can't really see it from where I'm sitting in my car.
So today, I was going to go see Deadpool. I planned on talking about it on the podcast, but I got to the mall to go see it, and I don't know what the deal was. I was just super anxious and didn't really feel like sitting and seeing a movie, so I just went and got a new phone. So I spent 2.5 hours at Verizon today, and I got the LG V10, which it's a fantastic phone.
Did go with the V10.
I did. Well, I was talking to the one girl at Verizon who helped me out, and big props to her because she gave me a very good recommendation, and I told her what I use the phone for, what I do, how we do the podcast, and all that stuff. I did promote the podcast. She told me she listens to podcasts and said, "Well, let me see." She's like, "Are you on iTunes?" Obviously we are. A cheap plug right there, and I hooked her up with the podcast. So that's how we make the podcast popular. Word of mouth. We just talk about it. I was wearing my Better Live Than Dead T-shirt. I had all the good stuff going on, but
here's the funny part. If you had told her that I was your co-host, she would have known who I was.
That's pretty funny because I said I talked to I was like I talked to like my co-host is like a 40-something Puerto Rican man. I was like we have little in common, which makes it hilarious. But sports, we get along with sports very well. Everything else, it's hilarious. Like we talk about anything aside from sports, it can get pretty fun pretty fast. But with sports, we're pretty damn good. If I can say so myself.
She knows me. What's up, Becca?
You know everybody, Lewis. You know everybody.
But yeah, keep in mind though, through my now previous job with Microsoft, I went into all those stores.
Yeah.
So, because I do
remember that. Yeah, I remember that. I remember you telling me how you'd go to Grease Ridge, and I remember meeting you at Grease Ridge, and I did hear about you getting laid off, and that's terrible.
Yeah, kind of unexpected.
It usually is.
I get paid to the end of the month, and then I'm done.
Good. What's next for you? Or have you not figured it out yet?
I don't know. I've had a couple phone interviews so far this week. I got an interview tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see.
That's good. Well, in the process of getting the podcast prepared this week, I saved a note file on my phone, and I forgot to transfer that note file to my new phone. So the small podcast that I had written for this week turned into no podcast that I had written for this week. I saved everything else but that because I didn't think about the notes on my phone to save them. So we're gonna have some fun this week.
Sounds good to me, man.
I want to start off really getting your thoughts on baseball because pitchers and catchers reported today. It's the 17th of February for those keeping track at home. And there's a lot of excitement. I did this morning, and it's something that's going to be going up the next couple of days. I did talk to Jared Carabas of Barstool Sports. We talked a little about the Diamondbacks, a little about the Royals, a lot about the Red Sox. Naturally, I mean, big Red Sox fan myself, so it makes sense. But he was a good talk. About 20, a little over 20 minutes. That'll be going up here shortly. Is there a team for you, Lewis? Is there a team that you may think that will be surprising in baseball this year for you? Just basing off of what you've seen this offseason.
I'm looking surprising. I don't know. I'm looking forward to see what a couple of teams do. One. The Washington Nationals. They've been on the cusp of greatness for a couple seasons now. I'm curious to see if their off-season moves put them over the hump, especially with a new manager. See if, they got the Lizard now, right?
They got what?
They got the Lizard now as their manager, right?
Yeah, Dusty Baker.
Yeah, I know Dusty Baker. I like calling him the Lizard because that's his nickname.
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that was his nickname?
No.
Yeah, that's his nickname. So I'm hoping to see if he could, keep those guys in line to maybe get them over the hump. Last year, I called the Astros doing well, and they almost shocked the world. So I'd like to see if they're going to continue with that momentum. I'd be curious to see, Go ahead.
Oh no, you go. You keep going. I was gonna go off on a tangent.
I'd be curious to see if the Royals can, make another deep run. Or because it's the other year now to see if the Giants win another World Series.
You do have an excellent point there with the Giants. I think personally for me, I talked about this with Jared for a little. I'm interested to see what the Arizona Diamondbacks do because they went out this offseason. They dumped crazy money on Zach Greinke. They went and they spent in terms of players a lot to go get Shelby Miller from the Atlanta Braves.
Yep.
That really strengthens their rotation. I mean, they don't have a bad rotation otherwise, but that lineup is young and there's a lot of potential there. And excuse me, if you want to make a big splash, do what the Diamondbacks did. But like we've all learned, you don't win a World Series in January. You win it in October.
Right.
So you have to put the team in place in January, February, and then you have to, you play to win the game, essentially. I also asked Jared about the Royals, like I said. I think personally that the Royals, hands down, are the team to beat in the American League. In all of baseball, I'm not sure yet, because the Royals last year, they were a lot of getting the right thing at the right time, and it just all worked out for them. They had like the perfect run to the title, but they could come out this year and get stronger and be a stronger team with that lineup that returns, with that rotation that's still intact, adding Ian Kennedy, with that bullpen that is a year older, a year wiser. Plus, they're coming off of a World Series championship, and I mean that may motivate them just right off the bat. So I'm interested to see what happens in Kansas City, but I'm more interested to see what happens in the American League East, not just for myself, but just for overall, because you've got the Red Sox, who were terrible last year. They go out, they pick up David Price. They go out, they grab Chris Young as a platoon guy, and the Red Sox have always been pretty smart with those platoon guys. I'm interested to see, they say that Chris Young has a stroke built for Fenway because he likes to pull the ball to left field a lot. So I'm assuming you'd expect to see him play in Fenway a lot next season. But you've got Hanley Ramirez moving from left, going to first base. You've got Pablo Sandoval coming off one of the worst years of his career. You've got Xander Bogaerts, who was arguably one of the best hitters in the American League last year statistically and just overall. I mean, just with the passing the eye test. You've got Mookie Betts, Jackie Bradley Jr., Rusney Castillo. So, there's a lot of question marks with the Boston Red Sox, but, I mean, they've got the talent there to do good things. There's just a lot of questions that we can't look at that team and say, on paper, they're, a couple pieces away from a World Series title, because they could be. But then again, if certain players don't play up to their ability, the Red Sox could be looking at another 70, 80 win season. I'm interested to see what the Yankees do, because they really haven't done, aside from Aroldis Chapman in bolstering the back end of their bullpen, they really haven't done much to make themselves better.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I didn't really mention them, because they really, they really do much.
You want to repeat yourself, because I lost you there for a second.
I said that's one of the reasons why I did not mention them, is because they really didn't do much.
I mean, it's something I'm not sure if they needed to do a ton. I mean, they did pick up Starlin Castro. They picked him up. I mean, that'll help them out a little. But I'm not sure. I'm not sure with the Yankees and what they've done. And then you look at a team like Toronto, who lost David Price. They're a year, again, the year older, year wiser. But I don't know. I really think the loss of David Price is gonna hurt Toronto. I mean, their offense is spectacular, out of this world, off the charts, whatever you want to say. It's amazing, and I don't know if that's gonna be enough to put them back over the edge. I mean, it may be something where you see 88 or 89 wins win the AL East again, because they may either be very good, all the teams may be very good, or they may be all mediocre, and that may be why they're, if they're all good, obviously you're not going to take 10 or 12 from the Yankees if you're the Red Sox, or vice versa, right, if all the teams are really good, or if you're all mediocre, it may end up being the same way as well. I mean, in the Central, it's Kansas City's to lose. In the West, probably the Angels. I mean, Seattle Seattle can be better. I don't know. I think Oakland is headed for another bad season. Texas, I don't know what they're doing. I mean, we heard some talk this week that Josh Hamilton is having more problems with his knee, which is not good news for Texas. But I mean, if you put a gun to my head right now, I would probably say. I mean, I want to buy the hype of the Red Sox, but I would probably say the Blue Jays win the East. Definitely Kansas City in the Central. Probably Anaheim in the West. With the wild cards being maybe a team like the Twins or the Tigers, and then probably the Red Sox or the Yankees getting the other wild card for the play-in game. But
yeah,
I'm not even sure about that one. Like it's tough.
I'm going to get off of baseball for a second.
You're fine.
I'm pretty sure I just witnessed a crime going down.
Tell me more.
There's a house across the street from me, but like 2 down, and a car just pulled up. Someone jumped out of the car, ran up the driveway, but had a hard time because it's really still icy and snowy. So it was kind of funny watching this guy slip and slide, and he fell on his butt like 3 times going up the driveway. The car turned around in the driveway house, about a house down on the opposite side from where they are. Went back, popped the trunk, and then the guy comes running back with another guy from the house, and they threw 2 things in the trunk that was very square-shaped and wrapped in what looked to be like duct tape.
Is that a drug deal, do you think?
I think it was. I think I just witnessed a drug deal, which, I've seen before, but not on this street, so it's kind of surprising.
You've heard it here first on the Better Live Than Dead podcast. Drug dealing happening live on the air.
That's right.
We need like a cool drug deal bumper song.
Exactly.
Like a breaking news. Like let me
exactly.
Let me see if I can grab something real quick here.
But then the guy from the house ran back up the driveway and fell flat on his face in the snow. That was quite humorous.
Hold on a second, sir. We're doing this live on the air. Hold on, I'm just waiting for it to happen. I don't know which one do I want to do. Which one do I want to do? This one. Drug deal on the podcast.
We could have used the bumper. We could have used the bumper last week when I saw all the fire trucks, the ambulances, and the SWAT.
Yeah, but you couldn't figure that out. This one you figured out pretty fast. I mean, you're like a modern day CSI.
That's right. And here's the crazy part about last week. Whatever happened, I scoured the news and I couldn't find anything about it. So
they don't want you to know.
Well, here's the thing.
Okay.
There was 2 incidences last week in the city of Rochester that were kind of odd. That was one of them. Whatever happened was not in the news. Couldn't find anything about it. Then there was another one where there was a shooting, okay? The person didn't die, which is good. But there was a shooting that didn't make the news because it was outside of an establishment that's known to be a gay spa in the city of Rochester. And whoever was shot, they wanted to keep that person's name out of the news.
Interesting.
Yes. And the only reason I know that they wanted to keep the person's name out of the news is because I actually know some high-up people in this city who deal with that sort of thing, who will remain nameless, and they were telling me about it.
Like I said, dude, you know way too many people.
I do. But yeah, I guess the person was leaving the gay spa and got shot. And whoever they were important enough to where people were like, oh, it's you who are going to keep your name out of the news.
So as I'm reading, I'm checking Twitter on my phone as we're going here. Apparently, the Celtics are going to continue to push to try to get Kevin Love. I'm not sure how that's going to work out, but apparently they're very interested in Kevin Love.
Really?
Yeah. I know I saw something, one thing I was going to bring up, that apparently the Hornets are interested in Dwight Howard, but a deal has not yet been able to come together. The trade deadline is on Thursday, on the 18th. So by the next time we talk, we'll have some trades for everybody to discuss if they do happen.
Man, that dude Dwight can't make it work anyplace.
I think the problem is they try. You can't build a team around Dwight. That's the problem. You can supplement a franchise with him, but you cannot build a franchise around him.
I agree.
And I think teams are starting to figure that out.
Yeah, I think so too. And he complains a lot. He's a complainer. He likes to complain.
Well, obviously. I'm gonna try to mess around.
I'm
gonna try to mess around with this phone while I'm talking to you.
Cool.
Oh, this is dope. This is dope, man.
Did they explain to you the capabilities of the camera?
Yeah, kind of. It's like there's 3 cameras. One of them you can actually like zoom in on people while they're talking, and it will just focus on their audio, which is pretty cool. If
you're a spy.
Well,
but
I mean,
if you're a spy, you should probably keep that to yourself.
I mean, why would I not want to do that? You know, I mean, I just want to start. I want to start messing with people and like, and just recording people and just zooming in on their faces to hear what they're saying, just to see how well it works. You know.
I know the LG rep in this area. His name is Mike.
Yeah.
He used to work with me at Verizon Wireless. And when I got the job with Nokia and turned into Microsoft, he had told me, he saw me one day at a trade show, a vendor event at the Verizon Wireless corporate call center here in Rochester. And he said, "What are you doing here?" And I told him, I got a job with Nokia. And he was like, "Oh, I applied for that job." And I was like, "Oh." He was like, "Yeah, I interviewed for that job." And I was like, "Oh." I was like, "Well, obviously, you didn't get it."
Yeah, obviously you lost the job.
Right. So he was like, "Yeah, I didn't really want it anyway." I was like, "Yeah, I apply for jobs I don't want all the time." It's like one of my favorite pastimes. Applying for jobs I don't want. So,
I don't, but...
No, I don't either. That was being sarcastic.
I figured. That's why I was saying I don't.
Yeah. So he was like, "Oh, I just, it's all good." But so when before that phone launched, he was showing me some of the capabilities. And I was like, "Oh, yeah, that's cute."
It's pretty cool. I mean, I probably will never use all the cool stuff, but it's pretty cool.
I've actually always liked LG.
You've always liked them or haven't liked them?
No, I've always liked LG. I've used a ton of LGs in my time.
I just didn't. I get like the thing about it is I had an iPhone for 2 years. I got bored of iPhones. I had a Samsung for 2 years. I got bored of it, and now I'm at LG. I mean, you got to try to find new technologies you possibly can, and that's what I'm working on. You know.
I've never been a fan of Samsung. I don't really like them. But
I didn't have a problem until the little charging port cover fell off. I broke off. And then my charging port stopped working properly. Like last night, for instance, the reason I decided to go today was I plugged my phone in and sat it down, didn't touch it, and it said it was charging and uncharging 8 times. And I'm like, yeah, man, there's something wrong with this phone. But I got $93 for it today on a trade-in, so.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not at all.
I think you'll like the V10. I like it. It's not a bad device. I don't like iPhones. I can't stand iPhones. Never liked them. You know. So if I was to get a new phone, I'm not on the AT&T network, so I can't get the 950 because I would probably get the V10.
I just took a video of me talking, and it's actually pretty hilarious. I'm going to have to post it.
Well, that's the cool thing. Like, they have the two front-facing cameras, although one's digital and one's analog. I don't really know why you'd want an analog camera in the digital world, but
maybe it's just a cool feature. It's like flexing your muscles, saying, hey, look, I'm pretty jacked. You want to see? Bruh. That's exactly what they're doing. Like, we can do cool stuff. So we're gonna do cool stuff, and you know, I'm a fan of I'm a fan of technology. It's funny because when I get the new phones, like today, for instance, when I was at Verizon, obviously being a employee in the communications sector, I know how annoying it gets when you have new technology and you're trying to do it while someone's trying to show you. So I just sat there and let the excellent Verizon wireless employee actually do the work for me and show me what to do, which was pretty cool because I had no intention of you know, wasting their time because dude, at my job people waste so much of my goddamn time with dumb questions and dumb inquiries, and I'm like, you know, I understand you don't know, but like it's a simple question. So I didn't, you know, small stuff I figured out myself, but like big things I'm like, oh, hey, how do I do this? You know, what's this, what's that? But, you know, most I can just figure it out, or I can Google it. That's what Google's for. I mean, that's what I tell people, you know. Whenever someone asks me a question and I'm like, you have a smartphone, and they say, absolutely. I'm like, you have the most powerful search engine at your fingertips, but you're asking me a question? Like,
welcome to the day. That's what happens, man.
I appreciate the inquiry. Like, I know you want to talk and ask me a question or whatever, but I don't care about you or your question most of the time, unless like we're good friends, and then I'll answer your question.
Welcome to customer service, bro.
No, this is just I'm not even talking customer service. I'm talking real life. Like, I'm talking like I'm hanging out with someone and they're like, hey, what's the answer to this? And I'm like, look it up, you idiot. You have a cell phone.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. Like, people don't want to think for themselves nowadays. Like, they want someone else to give them the answers. Which, I'm not like that. You're not like that. My wife's not like that. But a lot of people are like that. And it's kind of annoying.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
But that was the thing. Like, when I worked for Verizon, I would feel the stupidest calls. Stupidest calls. Like, people not knowing where, like, the power button was on their phone. When it clearly says, like, PWR, which is power.
That's true.
So,
you don't even have to tell me. I know all that. I know all that so hard. But I like my job. It makes me mad sometimes, but I like my job a lot.
Good. That's a good thing.
So, let's look over here. I'm looking through some sports news. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. 2 big names in Washington sports reportedly not going to be re-signed. Excuse me. First off, talk about the Washington Football Club. Apparently, they are not going to re-sign Kirk Cousins to a long-term contract. Now, this could just be posturing because The free agency begins in, I want to say, a few weeks because it's the 9th of March and I can't do math in my head, but Washington wants to apparently re-sign him long-term, but then they do, then they don't, they do, they don't, they do, they don't. It sounds like, when you have a girlfriend who's on again, off again, on again, off again, that's what this situation is, where they don't really know what they want to do. I think they know what they want to do. They just don't want to spend a ton of money. Because Kirk Cousins had a decent season, but do you want to put $20 billion plus a season in Kirk Cousins? I'm not sure. But if Kirk Cousins walks, who's going to be your starting quarterback next year?
Yeah,
nobody.
Really.
You don't have a starting quarterback.
Right.
I mean, you could draft a guy, but then you're back. RG3 is going to be gone. He already passed his exit physical. He's good as gone, and we'll talk about RG3 in a second because some news is coming back to me. But I mean, you could see a team like Cleveland be a big player for a Kirk Cousins or a Brock Osweiler because you don't have to bring that guy in to be the guy. You have to bring that guy in to be potentially that guy, but you're going to draft a guy like Jared Goff from Cal. Like that's going to be the guy, but you want a guy to come in that can lead you maybe to an 8-8 or 9-7, and then you go, well, yeah, we're 9-7, but this guy can be better than Kirk Cousins or Brock Osweiler. I don't know if Brock Osweiler leaves Denver, but that's the word on the street right now. I mean, again, there's a couple weeks away till free agency. We'll see what happens, but the big rumor this week that I saw in multiple places, not even just one source, it was multiple sources that were reporting it. There's a lot of rumors that first off, Peyton Manning's gone out of Denver, no matter what, retirement or not, he's gone, which is not surprising. But the other big rumor, well, I mean, Peyton, $20 million owed or $20 million cap hit, or they can save $20 million by cutting him. Obviously more than that, but I'm just rounding off the numbers. And I mean, either way, that's not happening for Peyton Manning. But there have been some rumors that Robert Griffin III could be the starting quarterback of the Denver Broncos next year.
Really?
And I stress they're just rumors because it's the silly season. But there's some talk that that John Elway is very intrigued with Robert Griffin III. And I mean, with that defense, why not? I mean, because if you have Robert Griffin, I'm not saying Robert Griffin is better or worse than Tyrod Taylor, but if you have Denver with Robert Griffin as the quarterback, I mean, essentially you want to be a poor man's Seattle, essentially, is what you're looking for. So you have a serviceable, and then you have a shutdown defense. Now, we know Russell Wilson is more than serviceable, and their defense is very shut down. But maybe I think that's what the Bills are trying to get at too, is have a quarterback who is serviceable, who can make smart decisions, not get you in trouble. He may not throw for 300 or 400 yards a game, but he'll do what he has to do to get you the victory, or at least put you in line for a victory. But I don't know if that's the right idea for Denver. But you've got to be open to trying something if Brock Osweiler leaves, if Peyton Manning retires gets cut. Peyton Manning's out of the picture, so if Brock Osweiler walks, I mean, it's not a good look to try and salvage something to the draft, because you can get him for cheap too. And if it doesn't work, you're not really putting your neck out there too far. But I mean,
right.
with that defense, you can probably win 10 games just with that defense alone. That's how good they are.
They proved it that this year. They proved
Absolutely.
how good they were this year. I mean, they basically won a Super Bowl with that defense.
So not too surprising here either. It looks like the Giants aren't going to re-sign Jason Pierre-Paul. He wasn't bad when he returned from blowing up his hand, but it just looks like the Giants are ready to move on. And, I mean, what a difference an offseason makes. I mean, JPP was, before he had the incident with the fireworks, he was one of the best pass rushers in the game, set to be paid a ton of money. And now he's back in the game and going to be a free agent and probably have to sign a cheap incentive-laden deal to get back and hopefully prove his worth.
Yes, that's true. If he hadn't blown his hand up, if he hadn't been an idiot playing around with fireworks, but hey, we'll see where he goes. We'll see what he does in the market.
Now, before we get too far off, the other name, moving over to baseball now, the other Washington name that has cut off contract talks, Steven Strasburg of the Washington Nationals, former first overall pick. Last year, he had a disappointing season. He had, it wasn't too bad, but he only had 23 starts, 127 innings. It was limited to injuries, a lot of which were centered towards a growth in his back, a non-cancerous growth that was removed in the offseason. He should be healthy, ready to go for opening day. But he signed a 1-year, $10.4 million deal avoiding arbitration this offseason. But from what it sounds like, Strasburg's going to the open market, and that could be huge for Washington if they lose Strasburg. I mean, even when I think he's only been able to hit 200 innings once, but he seems like one of those guys where once he gets it figured out and how to take care of his body, he's going to be a workhorse. I mean, 27, he's probably got another 5-6 good solid years in him, maybe more. He can sign a big fat contract and go, win 15 games a season for someone in, probably in New York or in Boston or something like that, because that's probably where he'll end up. You go sign a massive contract and Washington will be kicking themselves, but he hasn't been a bust by any stretch of the imagination, but I just don't know if they want to invest that kind of money in a guy who hasn't been able to put it all together yet.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying, but it's almost difficult to let someone of that caliber go, especially if he puts it all together and then just has a shutdown season someplace else. You kind of kick yourself. But Washington's got a pretty good lineup even without Strasburg. I don't know if I'd let him go from my franchise, though. I gotta be honest with you. Especially if
I wouldn't. I don't want him. I don't want him going anywhere if I'm Washington.
And I definitely don't want him going someplace where he might pitch against me.
That's just you being selfish now.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's you being selfish for sure.
Well, I don't want to see him on the mound against me. Because I already know what you can do if you're healthy. So I don't want you to come back and then make my team look silly.
I mean, that's fair.
Because I let you go.
I'm just checking Twitter right now to see if there's anything else. Because, like I said, I blew up the podcast this week. I apologize, guys.
Oh, good. So I dropped cigar shop.
I dropped the ball instead of not doing a podcast this week. I figured we could just get together and just kind of have some fun with it.
I'm down with that. So I was at the cigar shop this week, and one of the guys that hangs out in the cigar shop, his name is Jake. He says to me, "What is bougie?" And I looked at him kind of funny. And he was like, "I listen to your podcast. What's bougie?" Because I said that last week.
Yeah.
So I had to explain to him what bougie was. But I thought it was cool that someone in the cigar shop listens to the podcast. So what's up, Jake?
It's always nice when you hear people that you didn't expect to listen to the podcast be like, "Hey, I'm listening to your podcast," or "I listened in." And like last week, I had a friend of mine on Twitter tweet out that he's like, I'm currently listening to BLTD break down this SWAT team thing that's going on. I'm like, I didn't even know you listened to the podcast. Thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
That's hilarious. And now he can currently listen about the drug deal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know, we're not trying, like, we're not here to beg people to listen to us, because, like I was explaining excellent tech at Verizon when I was talking about about why I wanted a fancy ass phone. I'm not here to like beg people to listen to our stuff. We do this because we enjoy doing it. We genuinely enjoy talking to each other every week about sports, about whatever it is. So, you know, I mean, if you know, even before the podcast happened, we used to just sit around and still talk about sports. So
right.
It's not really much of a change. It's just we record it for future consumption by people that know us or may not know us. So really, Besides that, it's the same exact thing. It's just like, that's why whenever someone tells me, I think I might do a podcast, I'm like, do it. Because first off, it's fun as hell to have a structured conversation with somebody that has, you know, a start, a middle, and end. But it's also just cool to put that out there and see where it goes, and see who listens to it, and see who picks it up, and who responds to it, and, you know, who says, hey, I listened to your podcast, because that's really cool. I mean, again, I
agree with you.
It's not that I don't care. I just don't. I'm not going to sit here and beg people to listen to my podcast. You know, if someone wants to listen, they'll listen. And I think that's pretty awesome. To take the time out of your day to listen to us ramble about whatever we talk about, that's pretty cool.
I might go into that Verizon tomorrow and say, hey, Becca, so you were helping a friend of mine yesterday get a phone. You thought she did a good job. By the way, I'm the co-host.
That would be pretty funny. Although, hey, I did load up our podcast on her phone because she asked me if I would, and I did.
Awesome.
So I did put it in. I did subscribe to it on iTunes. So I'm sure she'll hear this once it goes up. I'm hoping it goes up on Thursday, but I know John's been busy. I don't want to push it on too hard. But if he gets it up, he gets it up as soon as possible.
You know what?
Taking care of either way.
While we have a second, we're talking about people who listen to the podcast. Let me go back and talk about Jake. So I've been telling Jake that he should become a permanent sponsor of the podcast I want to do, the cigar podcast, right? I'm really close to getting it launched. I got a couple more things I need to do. I just need the capital to do it. So, Jake, if you're listening to this, okay, if you become the permanent sponsor, which I've already explained to you what that requires of the Beyond the Smoke podcast, just think, you could be on the podcast with us. I'll let you come on the podcast as a permanent sponsor. Maybe not every week, but certainly at least once a month, I'll let you be on the podcast, promoting your company. All right, that was my sales pitch. I'm done.
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah,
well, hey, honestly,
I told him, you know, this is what I want. Just give me that. I got the podcast up in a couple of weeks. You'll be our permanent sponsor. Your name will be on just about everything. You can be on the podcast. There you go.
Honestly, it's pretty cool. I mean, podcasting is pretty cool. Sorry, I just got something or across the wire, and I'm really confused by it. I'm gonna wait for it to load, and we'll see what happens here.
So, what are you planning on going to go see Deadpool?
Probably Sunday night, maybe. I may have plans come up Sunday night, but if I don't, I'm going to go see it next Wednesday.
It's pretty damn awesome.
I've heard.
Yep. It's fun. Now, there's a lot of little things in it that if you're not a huge comic book fan, you might miss. But there's enough in it to still be really, really great and funny to the non-comic book fans.
I'm reading something right now on CagesideSeats.com. Apparently, Undertaker's WrestleMania 32 opponent currently is not on the WWE roster.
Really?
So is he going to wrestle Finn Balor at WrestleMania? I mean, because we've heard Cena, Lesnar, Strowman, and Owens, but like, what?
Well,
WWE does not know what they're doing at all, man.
Well, Finn Balor, though, I mean, he's kind of on the WWE roster because he's NXT.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. Is he's an NXT guy, so he technically is NXT roster. That's.
But seeing Finn Balor and his whole like demon get up come out in a WWE pay-per-view would be pretty awesome.
I hope that they get the Balor Club, man. That's what I want. Like that's
I don't know.
At the end of the day, I want the Balor Club. I want AJ Styles to be a part of. I want the whole thing. That's what I want.
I hope they use AJ Styles correctly now that he's WWE.
I don't think they're going to use him correctly until they get the Balor Club started up, because that's why I believe that he's there. Like that's the point of bringing AJ Styles to WWE, is to give him, put him in the Balor Club, like have that be a gimmick.
Right. Don't know.
It has to be. It has to be.
I feel like NXT, it has such a big following. They do a really good job with NXT. And I feel like, I don't know why it doesn't translate to their main shows.
Because it's all done by different people. Triple H exclusively runs NXT. That's his baby.
Well,
which is probably why it's so good.
Good job, H.
But hey, I got nothing else.
Like I said, I'm a big Lucha Underground fan.
I know.
They do things really weird and different, and it just works. Some of the things are a little cheesy.
Yeah, I've heard some things about Lucha Underground.
There was a new episode tonight.
Yeah, I saw Twitter going ape about it, going a little ape crazy, whatever you want to call it. I don't feel like swearing, so whatever. Just too lazy.
That's why I haven't gone out to Twitter.
That's fair.
I haven't gone out to Twitter yet because I don't want to see all the stuff.
I think I'm gonna go to bed after this podcast. I'm beat, man.
I'm gonna go watch Lucha Underground.
I might watch an episode 5 of the first season still. Got a couple left until Agent Carter. Agent Carter.
Agent Carter? Gotcha.
Yeah. And I got to start watching soon because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes back here shortly.
Yeah, I've been slowly catching up on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think I got 3 episodes to go, and I'm caught up.
It's pretty good. I enjoy it a lot.
They've done a really good job. I've enjoyed it.
And the cliffhanger at the end of at the mid-season break is fantastic.
I believe it because I like the build-up they did, with the Inhumans and the Inhuman that was killing Inhumans, and who it ended up being. I was kind of surprised by that.
When I watched it with Tori months ago, she called it at the start of the season, and then she actually paused the episode and freaked out, and it was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
That's funny.
It was great. I've got nothing else to talk about. My brain is mush. We've got some stuff coming up over on BLTDsports.com. I got a talk with Chris Ostrander of Two in the Box, talking Buffalo Sabres. Trade deadline's only a couple weeks away, fellas. It's going to be a good time. We're going to be live. I'm going to be live at the First Niagara Center on deadline day. Hopefully we'll get a podcast done that afternoon. I just bought some equipment today. Bought a microphone. I have an adapter to hook up to my voice recorder. I'm going to try to hook it up to my phone to see if it can do it. I don't know if it will be able to. It's worth a shot. I mean,
right,
but besides that, if not, I'll just go out and buy a really expensive voice recorder, a digital audio recorder, whatever. But we've got the talk with Chris Ostrander going up tonight. We've got the discussion with the talk with Jared Carabas of Barstool Sports going up the next day or two. This podcast will be up around then sometime. I love how I talk about things like in the future, but by the time you hear this, they've already happened. So check it out. Just go back to the website, go to bltdsports.com, check it out. Follow us on Twitter at BLTD Sports, Facebook.com/BLTD Podcast. I've got almost all the T-shirts sent out finally. I have 4 left that have to go out, I believe. Yeah, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 shirts. Sorry, 6 shirts. I can't do math. I can't math. I have 6 shirts have to go out. But that's looking good. Everything else is looking wonderful. I'm pretty happy about it. That's all I got. You got anything else tonight, man?
No, man. I'm gonna have to get myself a T-shirt in a 4X, bro.
Next shirt we get, we'll get you one. We're doing more shirts,
cool.
I think, in March, April or May or June. But I got to stop drinking APs, man. I got a little bit of a gut going on from drinking APs. I just noticed.
Do some sit-ups.
I got to watch my girlish figure. But
there you go. That's right. Do some sit-ups, do some squats.
We are better live than dead.
You're not.
We'll catch you next time. Hopefully, I'll have seen Deadpool. We can talk about that. We can talk about some sports. I promise not to delete the podcast this time. But again, aside from that, I'm Ryan Wolf at WolfBLTD on the line. Mr. Perez at MRLG Perez. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will catch you next week for episode 80 already of the Better Live Than Dead podcast.
That's pretty awesome.
Bye.
Late.
The preceding presentation has been brought to you by the Gear Network. Hey, Don, how's it going?
Living the dream. I'm actually just getting ready to do this commercial.
Oh, you mean the commercial where I tell our listeners to tune into Gear Network every week to listen to our show, Get Ready America, that one?
Yeah, John, that's the one.
They can also listen to us talk about news, sports, whatever's on our minds, that...
And a little what's on our listeners' minds, but they're just too nice to say it.
Well, that, Dawn, is a real humdinger. Come join us this and every week for Get Ready America exclusively on the Gear Radio Network.
And the Gear Network app.